Have a bullet point.
Have a bullet point
for every
a bullet point list for every
every time you mess up, just bullet point.
Yeah. We got on this topic because we were talking about Albert Preciado, and when we filmed an episode at his studio, was a week ago. It was like last Wednesday. Yeah, that's right. Inside of his studio, he had a checklist, and it was like what not to do, or was like what to do. It was either what to do or what not to do, and it was just bullet points. And I remember turning to him and going, "Nice checklist."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, well, every time we've had a fuck up, we add a bullet point." I was like, "Oh, you're right."
What was cool is it was laminated. So that means it hasn't been updated in a while, which means they haven't really fucked up. I think they fine-tuned it to a certain extent, right?
He's filmed a lot of content. So that makes sense.
And that studio was badass.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. I did not see that coming.
He had a really amazing office. And it's funny because we're segueing into something that I wanted to talk to you about, which is like the work from home tendency for even small, medium-sized businesses, right? Which is like, getting people to come back to the office post-COVID is very difficult, right? Cardiff, right, is 100% work from home. Though I was
Since when?
COVID 2020, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Post-COVID, 2020, maybe middle of 2021. Yeah, people fled, right? They, Dallas, Scottsdale, Houston, Nashville.
Well, they didn't really flee per se, but people were forced to stay home. It wasn't like that first wave.
Yeah, I mean they fled California for greener pastures.
Yeah.
No state income tax, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So I was having this chat, getting back to the Albert Preciado shoot from last week. He's giving us this tour. So his office is on Sunset, which hopefully the viewers understand, like that is the middle of everything.
Think Entourage, think Hollywood, like Star. We saw all of that for the first time in like 20 years for me.
Yeah, me too. I hadn't been there in many, many years.
The guys chanting, the religious guys chanting with the microphone.
Yeah.
It was like 11 a.m. It's like, what are you guys doing?
Those would be great guys to hire, right?
True.
Rain or shine, they're out there. That was in front of Mann's Chinese Theater, right?
And that was right down the street from Albert's, right?
Yeah. So he's in the Sunset Towers, I think penthouse, top floor, wraparound balcony. I mean, parks his Ferrari SF90, $1 million Ferrari.
Had no idea what that was before.
Neither did I. Yeah, I don't really know cars. Yeah. I drive a Tesla. But by the way, I remember when driving a Tesla was a point of pride. Now it's like
3 years ago. Now it's a Camry.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or maybe it's a Corolla.
No, don't. No.
About same size.
Maybe the Model 3 is a Corolla.
Oh, okay.
But the Y and the X it's an upper end, higher end. Say Lexus.
Not the most masculine of vehicles.
Not anymore. It was cool, but
yeah, it was
cool.
Ferrari has good range, but definitely like not the most masculine of cars. But in any event, he's showing us around his office, and fit and finish, it is like ridiculous. And I'm comparing his office to what I remember Cardiff's offices in San Diego looked like pre-COVID. And listen, we were on High Bluff Drive, which is a very fancy street in San Diego. In fact, office space-wise, it's the most expensive street in San Diego. We felt very prideful about it. And, of course, Albert's is like levels above.
Yeah.
Levels above. So we're having this discussion, and he's telling me what his lease payment is, right? To lease all this floor plate on the Sunset, in the Sunset Towers on Sunset. And I mean, it's the cost of a home in
one home.
Yeah. I mean, per month, right?
It's at least 3 homes.
Yeah.
Like in Beverly, we're talking like nice homes.
I mean, it was wild. It was wild. You could buy, just to kind of put it, I don't want to give away how much he spends.
Too late.
Yeah. But you could buy a brand new Rivian SUV easily every month. I don't know what that costs, but
not so manly car.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dean.
Sorry, his honeymoon with that vehicle is over. Yeah. But it was just wild how much he spends. And I was like, I was having this chat with him because, he's giving us a tour. And I'm so reserved financially, so measured, because I've been hurt before, or because I've hurt myself before.
True.
Overspending, right? Oh, getting over leveraged. And he's like, well, what do you think of my office? I said, well, do you want the canned answer or do you want the honest William Stern answer? He goes, give me the honest William Stern answer. The honest William Stern answer was, I would buy, I would buy a 10,000 square foot home on 10 acres in Hidden Hills, like in the valley. And I would build, a separate venue on the property to do the masterminds and do the conferences and so on and so forth. And you have like one side of the property that's residential and the other side is strictly for the business. You even have separate entrances, so on and so forth. But a big piece of land, right? His kids are homeschooled, right? Like, it's time to kind of like stretch out, enjoy yourself. Now, he lives in Bel Air, it's posh, right? And his office is posh. But if you want like the William Stern honest answer, that's what I would do.
Was this the William Stern honest answer in 2024? Or what's the William Stern answer, say, when you first started your company? Because real estate, I think you need the office space. Maybe you don't need Sunset
Towers, yeah.
But that's a cool spot. He had a gym, a studio, conference rooms.
He had a bar.
A bar. Oh, I forgot about the bar.
Yeah, he had a bar. That bar is probably 50. I mean, you build homes. That's 50,000. Yeah, 50 grand.
And then he had the conference rooms. I mean, as a real estate professional, I would have loved that early on in my career. All that, right? Go in there, shoot some content, have someone else edit it for me. You have no excuses, right? All your agents, your loan officers.
Yeah.
But what would William Stern say 20 years ago starting out Cardiff? I think you would want the office. I think you would want to be around those people. And I think you're rich and spoiled now. That's the problem, Will.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I think you are right.
That.
Yeah. 1 point for Josh. No, I think you're right. I think when I was younger, those types of things appealed.
Yeah.
Having a posh office is a great way to recruit young talent. Knowing what I know today, you fast forward 20 years, Cardiff is going to be, celebrating its 20th birthday in April of 2024. So
happy birthday.
Yeah, almost, right? But what my business coach would say is like, mistakes are expensive. If you paid for it already, don't pay for it again. Mm. And so, again, I'm in a different industry. Cardiff is in a different industry. We're B2B. We're like those faceless Instagram accounts, right? You familiar with those that make tons of money?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people borrow money from Cardiff, or a lot of businesses borrow money from Cardiff, and it's a commodity. They don't really realize who they're borrowing from. And we have a very strong renewals department that will maintain the relationship post-acquisition. But now that we're a work from home company, right? Like, people would rather work from the comfort of their own home.
Yeah.
And I think they're overly productive, if you were asking me for like my honest assessment.
Really? You think they're overly productive?
Yeah.
Because I would say the exact opposite. I mean, I see it in my industry. I see it. It's the exact opposite. These guys aren't making their calls at home.
I mean, I don't run Cardiff actively, right? The day to day, but from the reports that are ran, like that are shared with me,
they're sugarcoating those for you. They want you to
maybe.
Yeah, I'm just joking.
No, maybe. But they keep killing. They keep setting goals and achieving them and knocking them down, and management keeps moving the goalposts further and further. Mm-hmm. Marketing, Lev's.
Big Lev.
Right, yeah, Big Lev. Marketing keeps. They keep moving the
marker goalposts and
keep moving the goalposts on the marketing. Okay, like, all right, we spent 300 with Google this month. Let's spend 500K next month with Google. So it's, you're right. If you're asking me for the honest answer today, it's take that money and leverage it in a way that's going to get you the best rate of return. For Albert, maybe it is having a nice car, or nice cars, plural. His wife has a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, I think that's what it is, which I didn't even know what that cost. That's over $500,000.
Base.
Yeah. Nice.
Facts.
Yeah.
That's what the kids say.
Facts. But I think that's part of his brand.
Yeah.
That's part of his brand.
But I think it'd also be hard for him to, say, recruit an agent or a loan officer and say, hey, come to the Valley.
Nobody wants to go to the Valley.
No, yeah. I'm not familiar with the Valley, but it doesn't sound like a...
Can I make an analogy?
Sure.
Okay. So for the people at home watching this, the Valley is where your career goes to die if you're in Hollywood. So in order to be Hollywood, you have to live in that area. Hollywood Hills, Beverly Hills, Bel Air, so on and so forth. If you're like a B-list, C-list actor, you live in the Valley. But a lot of producers, directors, that type of thing, because they've already established themselves, they move to the Valley, right? They're not commuting every day to Hollywood to a studio, right? They're choosing their projects, so on and so forth. Yeah. But for the worker bees, right? They've got to be close. Hey, we've got a shoot today. Hey, we've got this audition. Yeah. So they got to be, moment's notice available. The Valley is over the hills into the valley of the San Fernando Valley. And because it's a very tight little corridor, there's always a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
And to get from the Valley into the heart of LA, it's probably 45 minutes to an hour, no traffic.
So you want Albert to do all that? That's career suicide. Albert, if you're watching, don't do that.
Don't move to the Valley.
Don't listen to, what's your handle? At William Stern or just William Stern?
Just William Stern.
Don't listen to that guy. Yeah. Follow him, but don't listen.
Yeah. Listen to Josh. He's all about the glitz and glamour.
Glitz and glamour. Get the agents.
Yeah. I get it.
Get the car, park the car out front. Like, I like that. That was cool.
So what is the Valley in terms of our area? So the Valley, I would argue, is like Escondido, Temecula.
Like Poway.
Even Poway. That's a great example. Yeah. If you had to drive
inland
45 minutes to get there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, if you're living downtown, you're a young guy and you have to drive to Poway, inland deep into Poway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I get it. Because right now, he lives.
So you would never bring back The Office for Cardiff?
I just don't see the value. I think in any organization, the best decisions are made by everyone getting together, voicing their opinion, and then crafting a vision that takes into consideration, right, everybody's perspective. Yeah. It's not to say that it's a democracy, but you do want to include everyone in the decision-making process, but you also want to be honest in how you're going to make the decision, which is like, okay, management is going to ultimately make the decision, but we still want to hear from everyone. Do you want to work from home? Do you want to come into an office? Is it a full-time? Is it a part-time thing? Because I think, freeing up that cash, and this is what I told Albert, you free up that cash, a couple $1 million extra a year, you take the whole company on vacation, right? With their family. Who doesn't want to go to Cabo, right? Business class, first class, your entire family, all paid for, spend a week there, right?
So 2 questions.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have really good employees who are able to work on their own at home.
Yeah.
What happens if those guys just leave? You're going to have to recruit, right? And how do you, 1, recruit individuals, and 2, how do you train them properly to work from home? Where I would assume that the office space would allow you to bring in top talent, recruit them.
Right. It's a good point.
Like a minor league.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. A farm system type thing. Yeah, exactly. It's a good question. And I think the reason why the office space works for Albert is he does so much training and continuing education that he needs these large spaces because he has seats to fill. Yeah. He has an escrow company, a realty company, and a mortgage company, as I understand it. Yeah. Right? Ambiance Realty. He has the Driven Enterprises. He has the mortgage guys. I can't remember what the escrow company was called. Do you remember that?
No. I don't think he told us.
I was like, this is my sort of tangential to what we're talking about, but I was like, dude, Driven is a fantastic brand. Driven should be the name of your portfolio of companies. Yeah. He's like, oh, that's interesting. I always give people unsolicited advice, and they always give me the same response.
That's interesting.
That's interesting. But yeah, for training, right? How do you do it?
But for you, like, I would love going into the office to see who would, 1, show up on time, 2, work their ass off, 3, like how they socialize with others, 4, if they ask for more work, or they're trying to learn other things and other avenues. Where working from home, you don't.
I think it's a different industry.
You're going to lose people along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But how do you replace? How do you fill those shoes?
I think, Cardiff, LinkedIn? As I understand it, right? Cardiff recruits young talent and tends to hold on to that talent for a very long time. We tend not to hire people, this has been sort of a business practice of ours over the last 20 years, to not hire or poach people from other companies. Want to maintain great working relationships with your peers. Mm-hmm. Other people would call it your competitors. But I think, if you hire people or poach people with, bigger salary packages from other companies, I think a lot of times what you run into is people who are disloyal and they're just kind of chasing heat. And if they're willing to leave for, $20,000 more a year, $30,000, whatever the case may be, then they'll do the same thing to you. And so you don't want to build on mud. You want to build on terra firma. I know we do have people that transition from one company, right? That, a peer of Cardiff to ours. But I'm just saying we don't have a business practice where we're actively courting, people that work at our peers. So
walk me through. Okay, so I want to work at Cardiff.
Yeah.
Walk me through that onboarding process from home.
It's a great question. Yeah, this is
outside of his pay grade.
Outside of my pay grade.
Let me call Dean. Does Dean know?
What does Dean know?
Let me call Ali, Mo. Which one?
I think
all three.
Yeah, on the sales side, like
Lev. Do you know the answer to this?
I don't even know these answers.
My point is, it's any industry. It's tough to train from home. I personally, I'm playing devil's advocate, of course, because I work from home and I don't have an office. But for the conversation's sake, an office is a brilliant place. It's just expensive.
Yeah. I was just having this discussion this morning, and I think it's relevant, so I'm going to bring it up. We use a company called Cressa. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. It's an international leasing company. So they try to find space, fill space, right? Show space for commercial tenants. And, like I was mentioning, we used to have a pretty posh office in San Diego, in Del Mar. And what we're starting to realize now is that people don't want to come back and work full-time in an office, but we do see the value. After visiting Jeff Fenster, remember that episode a couple of months ago? After visiting Fenster's office, what we realized was really in large part, the second floor, it was like a tilt-up building, right? Like a flex space, but the second floor is pretty much like dedicated to, I want to say it right. Is it Unevolved Studios? It's his media company.
Yeah.
And so it's basically devoted to him making content.
But that was at least 15,000 square feet, right?
Yeah.
That was huge.
That was big. Yeah. I think for us and what we're trying to accomplish at this point, a sublease, 5,000 square feet, something like that makes sense. So I think, if you're so willing, I just got a list, or I just got an email with a bunch of listings.
This guy always trying to give me work.
Yeah.
Do you notice that?
What you'll learn about me is I love assigning
tasks
to people.
Yeah. That's probably one of your strong suits, right? Like in terms of how you got to here.
I think it's true.
We need to talk about that too. We started the show off with checklist.
Yeah. Sort of making the checklist so you don't fuck it up over and over again. Learning from mistakes.
Yeah.
But I think, we've covered some interesting topics along the way. Lev, how are we doing on time? We're at 20?
Yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah, let's wrap.
Let's wrap
for today.